Grandma died. We stayed at the house the Navy gave Grandpa for the last time, 'cause with both dead, the house goes to another Navy veteran. I slept alone in Uncle's, Mom's lil' brother, old bedroom. I played games on my phone until the sleepiness kicks in. 3 a.m. I woke up. I need to pee. I go to the bathroom, which is located in a dark corridor that leads to the garage, first having to pass the large family and TV room, past Grandpa's old study room, the dining room and the kitchen. Yes, it's really that big. In front of the door to the garage is the old maid room, now uninhabited. As I do my business, I hear humming from the old maid's room. It sounded familiar, somewhat. I'm creeped out, so I quickly finish my business and embark towards my room. But something stops me dead in my tracks as the humming grew louder. It wasn't coming from the maid room. No, it was coming from the TV room. It was Grandma. She's sitting leisurely on the couch watching static on TV. She's still wearing the hospital clothes she died in. Her corpse was just transported to the morgue. She stared at me, smiled, and walked away. No, she didn't float, nor vanish, she walked. Turning to the guest room and God knows where. That's it. She's gone. The last time I slept on one bed with my mom was when I was 8. At 16 years old I snuck into her bed and stayed awake until morning. Me and my friend had a creepy experience. It's a Halloween true story. Anyways, here it is. Me and my friend, who I won't say their name, were going to a haunted house in our area. It was crazy because we never actually went inside of a haunted house, it was always usually the normal trick or treating. We were both 11 at the time. So we were walking to the haunted house. When we had finally arrived, it was creepy as hell. It looked very realistic and I knew that these people spent a lot of time into the haunted house. It was a maze-like haunted house, you had to find your way out in darkness. When we were inside, my friend decided that she wouldn't go ahead in first, and that I would have to lead the way. I felt annoyed but it was fine. It was very dark and I couldn't see well. A fake Michael Myers-looking guy scared the sh*t out of me. Then there was a basement, which I sadly didn't know about as I tumbled down the stairs. They never told you how to get out, so I assumed you'd have to find a door. My friend saw a door which seemed to be a way out. She opened it and I followed after her. It wasn't that good of a discovery though, as we saw some dark red in the door, which had a light on. We both ran out of there ASAP. I legit was scared of being in there now. I then saw another guy who said he found the way out. Me and my friend both went out and thanked the guy nicely. We were then walking home disturbed, but relieved that we got out of there. We then saw a guy pull up saying he had candy in his car. I was very stupid back then and I decided to follow, while my friend went along too. When we made it to his car, he opened the trunk of it and had a lot of candy in there. I was so happy and wanted as much of it as possible. He then said this, "I have a lot more at my house, you two wanna go?" We were total nincompoops and went around by the side door, when my friend spotted about 4 other men inside of the car, some with creepy looking smiles, and they were the creepiest looking guys I ever saw. Yellow teeth, most with balding black or brown hair. A bald guy with a tattoo on his neck. My friend got scared shitless and ran away. I followed her and the car followed behind us. The car decided to go slowly, but make sure it could see us. I assumed to not look suspicious. I then decided to run into the woods to hide, because we were in a dead-end street at that point. My friend went behind some bushes. I came up with an idea and I'll forever thank the game hide and seek for this. I told my friend to come next to me and I led her down under a bunch of branches. It was different because these branches surrounded the area and they were dipped down from a small hill on a rocky-ish surface, almost like a small cave. I then grabbed other branches to surround us completely to the point where we would be nearly, if not even impossible, to see from a nearby angle. We both heard footsteps and held our breath. We then saw feet right next to us, but go down the hill. We heard other footsteps go farther, farther, and farther. When we couldn't hear them anymore, we both removed the branches as quickly as we could and sprinted to my house. We called the police, but couldn't do much since we didn't get the license plate. So we just dropped the whole thing and moved on. That was easily the scariest moment in my life. This moment hasn't ruined Halloween for me though, and I still love the holiday. I'm sure I'll never forget this moment though. My parents started leaving me and my sisters home alone when I was 13 or 14. Of course, the rule was not to let anyone know we were alone and not to let anyone in the house. One night, there was a knock at the door. I went to the door and tried to look out, but I couldn't see. We couldn't pretend we weren't there, because the lights and TV were on. I opened the front door a crack, thinking that the person would be behind the screen door, but that wasn't the case. There was a man, late 20s or early 30s, standing in the doorway. I shut the door quickly and told him to get behind the screen door. He obliged, and I cracked the door, yes, I wasn't very smart, and latched the screen door. He told a story about his vehicle breaking down and his need to use a phone. I said I couldn't see a car, and he indicated it was further down the road. I asked why he walked past the two houses right next door to one with no car in the driveway, and he became agitated. Here's a general recollection of the conversation. Look, are you going to let me use a phone or not? No, my dad is sleeping, and I can't let you go in his room to use the phone. Okay, bring the phone out here and I'll use it. I'm not letting you in the house. Just bring the phone to the door. It won't reach. Please leave. Okay. I shut the door and lock it. While my sisters and I are talking about how scary that was, the side door handle jiggles. He knocks and says, "Will it reach to this door?" At this point, I tell him to go to the neighbor's house and use their phone. He starts to yell, "I bet your dad's not there. Let me in. I want to talk to him." I said, "Fine. I'll go get him." I then went into my dad's room and got his shotgun. I came out, racked it, and said, "Here. Meet my dad." The guy started cursing and calling me names, but he left, or at least that's what I thought. He had actually gone around to another door and tried that one. Our dog, who was outside at the time, began barking at him. He proceeded to do something that made the dog yelp and cry out. I screamed out that I was calling the police, and he finally left. I felt really stupid for the entire interaction. I don't know if he was just a guy who needed a phone, but the whole experience was creepy, and I was obviously ill prepared for dealing with it. I moved in with my elderly parents to help care for them. It's so much of a task that I do not work. It's a full-time job. Both of them have mobility problems, and while they shouldn't be driving, sometimes they sneak a driving trip out on me. I usually drive them everywhere. I cook, clean, do errands, the works. I've always been close to them, so I don't mind. It's pretty common for one of us to check on the other at night or in the early morning hours. I had stayed up well past the time I normally sleep, helping my mother wrap her legs. We went through our nightly rituals and all three of us turned in for the night. Sometime during my sleep, I had kicked my blankets in the floor. I was in that half-awake, half-asleep place and was attempting to find my covers. My door creaks open and a black figure walks up to my bed, kneels down, picks up my blankets, and tucks them around me, caresses my cheek, and leaves. I assumed it was my mother, muttered an "I love you," and went back to sleep. I woke the next morning, still tucked in tight. When I ventured out, I went from room to room looking for my parents. They were nowhere to be found. I jumped as they came in the back door. They had decided to make a breakfast run without me but brought me a plate. I thanked them for breakfast and for the tuck-in. Both looked confused. Neither had even gone toward my part of the house after lights out. I laughed, thinking it was a joke. It wasn't. My mom thought maybe I dreamed the whole thing, but when I woke, I was still tucked in a way I could not have done myself. To this day, I still have no idea who or what was in my house and tucked me in. wasn't technically home alone. My friend was spending the night at my house while our parents stayed the night at a resort about an hour away. I say, technically, because she fell asleep around 11 p.m. I was 15 at the time, she was 14. I was still up, watching low-budget sci-fi movies on TV and eating cold pizza, as it neared 1 a.m. I started getting a really weird feeling. I couldn't put my finger on it. I just felt uncomfortable. I ignored it for a while, until it got unbearable, and I realized that it felt like someone was watching me. My dad had been fixing some windows around the house during the day, and had removed a bunch of the blinds, making for an unobstructed view into the house. But we lived in a quiet suburban neighborhood at the time, so no one thought anything of it. I got up to walk around, trying to take my mind off what I was feeling, but as I neared the window on the other side of the living room, where I'd been sitting all night and my friend was still sleeping, I saw something weird on the glass. A foggy spot, maybe 6 inches in diameter. And it was getting bigger, then shrinking, then growing again, every second. At the time, I was so wired with paranoia that I couldn't figure out what it was. I put my face just an inch from the window, studying it, and called out for my friend. I told her to hit the switch for the security lights. The foggy spot was breath, and I was staring into a man's face, just on the other side of the glass, only centimeters away from it. My friend ran into the kitchen, screaming, while I stumbled backward in shock. I scrambled for my phone and called my parents, and grabbed the knife still on the coffee table from dinner and held it up in a shaking hand. He pressed his palm against the window, still staring at me, and then disappeared into the dark. My neighbors, shotguns in hand, showed up in less than 2 minutes. My parents had called them, and stayed with us until our parents arrived. No one found anything of the man except for footprints in the garden bed. We moved a few months later.